You know that moment when you see someone wildly successful and you think, man, they must just be a genius. What if I told you that's actually only part of the story? Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers completely rewires how you think about achievement, luck, and what it actually takes to become exceptional at something. Takeaway 1. The 10,000-hour rule is probably the most famous idea Gladwell drops in this book, and honestly, it's kind of mind-blowing when you first hear it. The basic principle is that to become truly world-class at something, you need roughly 10,000 hours of focused, deliberate practice. Gladwell studied the Beatles, Bill Gates, and tons of other outliers, and they all hit that magic number. The Beatles played Hamburg nightclubs hundreds of nights before they became the cultural phenomenon we know today. Gates was coding obsessively at a private school that had rare computer access back in the 1970s. But here's the thing that catches people. It's not just about putting in the time, it's about the asterisk kind asterisk of practice. You can't just mindlessly repeat the same thing over and over. You have to be constantly pushing yourself, making mistakes, and getting feedback. So if you want to get exceptional at something, start tracking your deliberate practice time now. Set a specific goal, find ways to get real feedback, and commit to the long game. Because shortcuts don't work the way we wish they did. Takeaway 2. The Matthew effect is Gladwell's way of describing accumulated advantage, and it's honestly pretty unsettling once you see it everywhere. The name comes from the Bible. To those who have much, more shall be given. But in practice, it means that small, early advantages compound over time into massive differences. In hockey, which Gladwell uses as his primary example, kids born early in the year are bigger and more developed than kids born late in the same year. Coaches pick them for elite teams because they look more talented. Those elite teams have better coaches and more ice time, so they improve faster. By the time everyone's an adult, the kid born in January has thousands more hours of high-quality training than the kid born in December, and we all just assume the January kid is more naturally gifted. This happens everywhere: wealth, education, networking, opportunity. So here's what you need to do. If you're the late bloomer in your field, don't internalize the idea that you're just not cut out for it. You've got something the early advantage kids didn't: perspective and adaptability. And if you're in a position to mentor or hire people, be conscious of this bias and actively look for talent that doesn't fit the typical profile. Takeaway 3. Gladwell argues that success is almost never just about individual talent or hard work. It's about the intersection of opportunity and effort, and most of us drastically underestimate the role that luck and timing play. Bill Gates had the incredible fortune of attending a school with computer access when computers were rare. He was born at exactly the right time to take advantage of the microcomputer revolution. His parents were educated and supportive. He lived in the right place. But, and this is crucial, he also seized those opportunities and worked relentlessly. The luck opened the door, but he still had to walk through it. Most people either ignore their opportunities or sit around waiting for the perfect moment. The action here is to stay aware of what opportunities are actually available to you right now, even if they seem small or unconventional. Luck favors the prepared, and preparation means actually being awake to what's possible in your current environment. Takeaway 4. Your cultural legacy, the background you come from, the values your family holds, the country your ancestors were from, shapes your behavior in ways you rarely think about consciously. Gladwell explores how work ethic and attitudes toward authority aren't genetic. They are inherited through culture. He examines how rice farming in Asia created a culture of individualized, meaningful work that required enormous amounts of attention and care. You can't just check out and let someone else handle it. That work ethic carried through to modern Asia. He also looks at how different immigrant groups succeeded based on their cultural values and when they arrived. This isn't about essentializing entire cultures. It's about recognizing that your behavior has deep roots in your background. So here's the practical part: get curious about your own cultural inheritance. What values did your family model for you? Which of those are actually serving you, and which ones might be limiting you? Understanding where your patterns come from gives you the power to keep the good ones and consciously change the ones that don't work. Takeaway 5. This one feels counterintuitive, but Gladwell makes a powerful case that there's a threshold for IQ, and it's way lower than we think. Once you hit an IQ of around 120, additional IQ points basically don't matter for success. A person with an IQ of 140 isn't going to be more successful than someone with an IQ of 125, assuming they have similar opportunities and drive. What does matter beyond that threshold is whether you can collaborate, whether you understand social dynamics, whether you can connect with people and navigate the world. Gladwell studied Nobel Prize winners and Supreme Court justices and found this pattern holding true. So if you've ever felt like you're not smart enough, stop right there. You probably have more than enough IQ to achieve what you want. Your actual limiting factor is probably something else: clarity, consistency, social intelligence, or simply not recognizing what's possible. The real work is becoming the most capable, emotionally intelligent, collaborative version of yourself, not wishing you were smarter. Takeaway 6. Gladwell distinguishes between analytical intelligence, which is what we typically measure on IQ tests, and practical intelligence, which is your ability to actually do things in the real world. You can be brilliant in abstract theory, but helpless when you need to navigate a conversation with your boss. You can be mediocre on a standardized test, but amazing at figuring out how to get something done in your community. Practical intelligence includes understanding social situations, knowing how to communicate effectively, and being able to look at a problem and find a real-world solution. Some of the most successful people Gladwell studied had moderate analytical intelligence, but off-the-charts practical intelligence. Their ability to read a room, to know when to speak and when to listen, to understand what people actually needed, that's what moved the needle. So assess yourself honestly here. Where are your practical intelligence gaps? Is it conflict resolution, negotiation, understanding what someone really wants beneath what they're saying? Those gaps are learnable. Find someone good at that skill and study them closely. Takeaway 7. This is where Outliers gets almost philosophical, and it's one of my favorite parts of the book. Gladwell argues that the most successful people aren't just grinding away for external rewards. They're doing work that feels meaningful to them. It's the difference between work and calling. The Koreans that built modern Korea, the families that built the garment industry in New York, the people in Gladwell's examples who built massive enterprises, they all found meaning in their work. It wasn't just about getting rich. When work feels meaningful, you can sustain effort that would break other people. You can stick with something through the boring parts and the hard parts because you're not just grinding. You're building something that matters. So here's the hard question. Does your work feel meaningful to you right now? And if not, what would it take to find or create meaning in what you're doing? Sometimes it's a perspective shift. Sometimes it's moving to a different role. Sometimes it's starting a side project that connects you back to why you work. Takeaway 8. When were you born? Seriously. Your birth year puts you in a generational moment that shapes the opportunities available to you in profound ways. Gladwell shows how Bill Gates was born in 1955, which meant he was a teenager in 1971, exactly when personal computers were becoming a thing. Steve Jobs, born 1955 as well. The timing wasn't an accident. They were the right age to catch an emerging wave that no one older understood and no one younger missed their window on. The same applies to social media, artificial intelligence, and every other major shift. The people who become outliers in a field are often riding a generational wave they didn't create. You can't change when you were born, but you can recognize what wave you might be riding right now. What's emerging in your field that you have the time, energy, and capability to master before it becomes mainstream? What did your generation miss that you could still catch? The action here is to think generationally about timing and opportunity. Takeaway 9. Gladwell's exploration of plane crashes sounds random, but it ties directly back to how culture shapes behavior and outcomes. He discovered a pattern. Planes crashed more often when the co-pilot was from a culture that emphasized deference to authority and was flying with a captain who was culturally dominant. The co-pilot would see a problem but wouldn't directly challenge the captain because their cultural background taught them that would be disrespectful. This cultural pattern didn't cause the crash, but it influenced whether the co-pilot spoke up clearly and early. When airlines recognized this pattern and changed communication protocols to demand that everyone speak up regardless of rank, crash rates dropped dramatically. This applies everywhere, in your workplace, your family, your projects. Sometimes people aren't saying what they know because cultural norms are silencing them. As a leader, you need to actively invite dissent and make it safe to disagree. As an individual, you need to recognize when you're holding back and find brave ways to contribute anyway. Takeaway 10. Gladwell spends time on the KIPP school and on rice paddy work, both of which make the same point. Cultures that celebrate effort and continuous improvement outperform cultures that celebrate raw talent. Rice paddy farming required such intense, detailed work that cultures built around it developed a different relationship with effort than cultures built around other models. Effort isn't shameful. Effort is just what you do. KIPP schools adopted that mindset. They don't tell kids they're smart or talented. They tell them they're working toward mastery. Kids who grow up believing that effort creates results, that working hard is just what you do, that failure is data, those kids outperform on every metric. Most of Western education does the opposite. We identify gifted kids and basically tell everyone else, well, you're just not there. Gladwell's evidence suggests that's completely backwards. If you're raising kids or teaching them, model effort, celebrate the process, treat failure as feedback, not judgment. And if you're an adult rewriting your own story, start there too. Your belief about whether effort matters is foundational to everything else. Outliers leaves you with a fundamentally different way of seeing success. It's not about being innately gifted. It's about the intersection of timing, opportunity, culture, effort, and meaning. The Outliers' Gladwell profiles aren't magical. They're people who had legitimate advantages and who did the unglamorous work of improving for 10,000 hours. Some of it was luck. Some of it was their choices. Most of it was both. And that should be weirdly encouraging to you because it means you're not up against impossible genetics. You're up against a puzzle you can actually solve, finding your 10,000 hours, recognizing your advantages, and having the discipline to keep improving. That's hard, but it's possible. Go find your wave.